G'day guys, how you doing? And I'm excited to show you all the little extra accessories that I've added to my Astro setup, as well as the mods that I've made to my CGEM. So let's check it out. So the first thing I want to talk about is the mod I've made to my CGEM. As you can see here, I've got my power cable and my hand controller cable going through into the mount itself, and it runs down the shaft here and out where the polar scope cover is. So I've removed the polar scope, no longer needed with the ASI AI Pro, and I wanted to utilize that to make cable management a little bit easier. Now with the power cable, normally that's obviously hanging off the side here, so when the telescope's moving around, the power cable's moving around, and I've got chances of that catching on something. So I wanted to eliminate as much messy cables as I can as possible and make it a lot cleaner. Plus I want to make it easier to pack up too. So the advantages of now the power cable running through and coming out here is meaning that when I'm plugged into my power source and this here is the telescope's moving around, I no longer have a power cable that's moving around with the scope itself. Plus I know how much you guys think I'm a wuss with cold weather, but I do hate it, and this is going to make things a lot easier to pack up. I no longer have to pull the power cable out, wrap it around my hand, tie it up and put it away. I can just simply wrap it right around the mount itself, and we're good to go. Now the other thing I want to talk about is the hand controller itself. You've seen me use this setup for quite a while, exactly how it is. However, I want to talk about the reasons why I use the Celestra GPS unit. Without the GPS unit, the hand controller itself is just plugged into the panel on the side of your mount. The problem is when the telescope's moving around, your hand controller cable can stretch out a little bit, and if it gets a little bit too stretched, then your hand controller comes out of its holder. So by using the Celestra GPS controller here, hand controller just plugs straight into that, and then that plugs straight into my hand controller on the mount here, which again is feeding through and coming through to the back. So again, while the telescope's moving around, I'm getting no movement with my hand controller, so everything is fantastic there. So let's move around to the other side and I'll show you what else I've done. So the other thing I've added to my Astro setup is the Zedwo AI Pro. Now the first version of the ASI Air I thought was absolutely fantastic, but this here is even better again. Now I've gone out, finally it's arrived, I've gone out and purchased it, and due to a lot of things slowly coming into Australia, it's finally arrived and it's here. The thing that I love about it is the 12 volt outputs. So now I can run my camera off of it, and I can also run my internal fan off of it as well. So no more do I have any power cables coming off the front of my telescope. It's all just the one cable on the side, and then everything else is powered through here. Now I can't power the mount through here because it is a little bit more too much of a strain on the unit I've found, but it's been able to help me tidy everything up, so I'm absolutely loving it. So the next addition to my Astro setup, and I don't know if you guys have noticed it at all, is my guide scope. As you know, I used to run the Skywatch EvoStar 50 ED, but now I've decided to go for the Celestra 600mm. And the reason for that is I used to have a bit of issues trying to get guiding to work purely because there wasn't enough, it kept coming up saying that there's not enough movement in the star to pick up any sort of motion. So what I've decided to do is go back to my knowledge of photography, and whenever you shoot nightscapes with a wide-angled lens, you can shoot up to say 30 seconds with a 14mm, and you don't notice any star trail or too much star movement. Alright, but when you switch that 14mm to a 50mm or an 85mm or whatever, and try and shoot that 30-second exposure, you see a lot more star movement. So that's the reason why I've gone for the 600mm guide scope rather than the Skywatcher, which was a 242mm focal length. So I'm hoping that with the 600mm I'm going to get more movement in the star, so therefore the guiding will work a lot better than what it was in the past. So the last change that I've made to this Astro setup is the filter I'm using now. I used to use the Celestra light pollution filter for the raster, and I've decided to switch that out and insert the Beta UV IR filter. And the reason I've done that is because majority of my images are taken from dark sky locations, so I don't really need that light pollution blocking filter. If I'm to shoot here in the suburbs, I would use that light pollution filter because there's a lot of light pollution. So I've decided to switch it out. And the other reason for that too is that I like to try and capture as much detail in the length of exposure that I use. So having a light pollution filter is blocking some of that light coming through and hitting that sensor. And the reason I know that is from using a light pollution filter for nightscape images. When you use that light pollution filter, you are blocking light coming through and hitting that sensor, so therefore you're not quite getting as much detail as you would in an exposure. The same length exposure is if you did not have that light pollution filter. But again, the advantages of using the light pollution filter there is to block out all of that light pollution. So you got to weigh up your options there on, you know, what's best for you. And for me, because I travel to dark skies, there's no point on using a light pollution filter. So I've gone from that one. I know that was a bit of a ramble of a explanation, so I hope you guys bear with me there. But yeah, that's all the mods that I've done to my telescope since we've had some very, very bad weather and I haven't been able to go shoot too much. But I will leave you with this image that I did manage to sneak out and shoot, and I hope you guys like it. But before I show you that, if you guys have enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. If you have come up with any ideas that you think I can make to my cable management, let me know. I'd love to hear them. Anything that will help out with me being out in the sticks, so to speak, and pack up, and ease of transport will mean the world to me. If you're new and you've enjoyed it, please don't forget to subscribe too. Alright guys, well, until next time, take it easy. See ya.